Sorry. Sometimes little gizmos just make me chuckle. Anyway, to do or to be? Yes, that could be the question. And for me, it is. And this is part two of, in a sense, I did one a little while ago on grounding, and this is up that same stream because this is what I see a lot. And all right, these are all of the things that you can do to regulate your nervous system. Okay, I agree to some degree. Let's look at this perspective differently, because as I mentioned in the grounding video, you can either be grounded or you can ground yourself regularly. And I used the illustration of the grounding rod just outside the house, which is a big, tall copper rod, and they pound that into the ground, and that means that this house stays that way. It's not like it's a little thing. Here's a storm. There's another storm. There's another storm. Do you want to sit outside and do that all day long? So let's look at this list here we have of free nervous system regulators. They all sound quite good, don't they? Here is the issue. Do you want to be regulated, or do you want to have to do this list of things all day long? Now, if you're really dysregulated, you'll not only have to sit outside with your grounding rod, you'll have to do all of this stuff besides. So let's imagine you are here. All right, we'll call this 0. When we get dysregulated because of trauma, our nervous system goes way over here to the negative numbers. All right, and here we are. Now, if we don't use good trauma healing tools or not at all, and we're out there with the grounding rod, or we're doing all of these things, okay, that moves us a little bit closer to the 0, but then we do this again. See that motion? This is doing regulation. The mistake here is thinking that if I have to ground myself all the time, one way, shape, or another, or I use these regulators, that means that I'm grounded or that I'm regulated. That's false. So here's the 0. What if because of using good trauma healing tools, our natural state of being of regulated is way over here. Same thing with grounded. I go past that 0, way over here. This means I'm grounded. Not that I'm grounding. This means regulated, not regulating. If the things that I do on this list don't do this, then I am not regulated. I am just regulating. What I teach people is how to be regulated. Now, I don't need to do any of these things, not on one of them. I don't need to. My system knows how to handle stress. Stress, believe it or not, is very, very natural. And there's two kinds of stress. There's eustress and there's distress. Now, eustress I've talked about before is, and I always use the example of sports. When a game gets really, really close and everybody's fretting about how things are going, and fretting is an interesting term. The major difference is your hormones are going, the adrenaline might be up, the whole shot. You want that to be going on, but everybody's in a position of safety, perceived safety anyway. Despite what movies show us and the calamities and tragedies and so forth and so on, most sporting events aren't like that. I would imagine that the gal who worked with the British guy to break the Enigma codes and all that kind of stuff, when they gave them tests to prove that they could do something in X number of minutes, I'm sure she had some eustress. You know, the system's pumped up, your heart rate's up, your breathing might be a little different, the adrenaline's definitely going. Yeah, okay, I get that. But it's not like they put a gun to her head. That would be distress. Distress means that there is a perceived threat. Now, if somebody handed you a slip of paper and said, you complete this test in 4 minutes or you're fired, that's probably perceived as distress. And that response in your system is different. I guarantee you will not be able to finish that test because this thing is going to be scrambled. Anyway, so there's two different kinds of stress. And when you're in trauma and dysregulated, you are in a state of distress, chronic distress. That's what trauma actually is. So we do these kinds of things because we have to feel some sense of being regulated or grounded. Now, what happens is when you heal, you move past the need for having to do these things. Now, does it feel bad to hum? Heavens no. I do it when I can't remember words, so I might launch into a Beatles song and then remember, oh, I don't know these words. So I switch to humming it. When I run out of lyrics, I switch to humming it. And part of the reason I do that is because I can sing okay in certain songs, but I have hearing issues. So it makes trying to hold a key challenging. The other day I noticed I was working with a Dan Fogelberg song. The one that's in my head right now is The Reach, and that's not it. Anyway, he is much better at singing, and the song went somewhere I couldn't. So, okay, switch to humming. Resting. Well, yeah, I rest really good. Put my feet up on my drum throne, sit out there and look out the window at oh, there's an eagle. Darndest thing. And I said, no, the branches on it, those might be birch trees, but they're starting to brown out a little. So yeah, it's cold, man. The cold is affecting I don't know if that's a roadie or not. That might be. Anyway. Yeah. I should turn the computer so you can see the same thing. Look at the picture in the back here. I'll take this off. Oh, darndest me. There. That's what I needed to do. See that? People would go out and do this to feel good. I could go out there, put my feet up, and look at that all day long because I know how to rest. It's hard to rest when your system is not regulated. People do that when they are exhausted because of their dysregulated nervous system. And that's what sighing implicates. I don't sigh when I'm doing this. I breathe easy. My heart rate drops and I'm resting. I'm not sitting there going, sighing is almost always correlated with distress. All right, swimming. Cool if you can do it. I almost have to have a dry suit on. That will be an automatic float device. Now, there's some interesting cold dippers out here that actually some swim and some, now that's a physical activity. So that is going to burn your energy. Anyway, all of these are great for bringing down the anxiety level. But on the other hand, you have to understand that these particular activities are not going to heal your trauma or to move you that far up the scale. They're only going to move the needle a little bit, and then you're going to. How many cold showers do you think you can take in a day? Okay. How many times a day can you sit down and meditate? Now, I can stretch throughout the day, and I do, just because my muscles get tight. Yeah, I walk a lot. I'm putting in 5 miles a day at least. Journaling, okay. I don't so much. Some people do. Laughing, that's a good one. That is really, really a good one. And one thing I learned with breath work, I'll go to the bottom of that list. In Krav Maga, when we were doing our stress test or fatigue drill, at the end, and I was still a rookie, I was on the sideline. And one of the guys told me, he said, take longer exhale. He said, you'll probably find that your breathing will restore much faster. And so then we got to whistling and doing all that because it always made us chuckle. It kind of made us laugh. And humor is great, but humor is a higher brain activity, they call it, which means that it can't be in a state of distress, not chronically. And state of distress doesn't mean you're walking around every second of every day. That indicates your internal hell. So moving on. Here's the word grounding is in here, interestingly enough. Yawning. Okay, I know people who Apollo Ono did that before he started a race because it's vagal nerves. These are the first vagal nerves to be affected by the distress. Now, with Apollo Ono, he was in a state of eustress. Boy, this is high competition in a sport that moved fast, required physical exertion right now from 0 to 100 as quick as possible. And okay, well, injuries weren't that common, but they could happen. So there's a lot of this going on. Anyway, I will end this soon, but I want to say that you can have the state of being grounded or doing things to ground. You can have the state of being regulated, and I think they're pretty much the same. Or you can be constantly doing the things that regulate. That choice is yours. Your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system can do both automatically. That is how we have evolved. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's what I show people. So there's the website. Here's my email address over here. Now, if I pointed at the list, it'd probably be that way. I just have to remember that everything is reversed here, and it's tricky as all get out. So that choice is yours, because some of these things are really, really good to do. I like singing, even though I try not to do it around other people and so being around safe people, I love being around people who are safe. Who doesn't? It allows for great conversation, allows for connection, allows for the heart. Just watching kids, watching little ones. Oh man, that always makes me smile. Being able to do these things because I want to versus having to do them because I need to. If I need to do them, that's an admission I am not regulated. That's the way it works. If I have to do things to ground, it means I'm not grounded. So I can teach you how to get that big old 8-foot copper rod, pound it down into the ground. So when the storms of life erupt around my house, all of the electricity is right out through the ground rod into the earth. Yeah, that's what that means. Same thing with regulated. You can be in the storm and not overly affected by it all that much at all. Not your emergency, it's not your emergency. The drama at work, not my drama. And I work with people who have had some horrific stuff happen. And the thing about trauma is it makes you feel like it's going on still. Yeah. I know how not fun that is. I lived with it for close to 59 years. Yeah, I just aged myself, didn't I? There you have it. I'll cut it off there. If you're interested, you can look up my website. It's right up there. You can click on the QR code, or you can email me right there, and we'll have a conversation. Our first conversation is not a sales pitch. I don't allow them. Which means I regulate myself. Anyway, have yourselves a great weekend. I hope where you are, the weather is not horrible. Stay safe as much as you can, always. And as much as you can, have yourself a great weekend. Bye.